Hello, everybody. Once again, thank you so much for joining me. I'm Phil Rice. Welcome to the channel. Today I have a very cool guest, and I really just can't wait to get into it. So I'm just going to bring him straight on in a sec. And I'm going to say first, thank you to everyone tuning in to check us out. You are welcome to post a question in the live chat, and we'll get to those towards the end of the catch up. And yeah, I tell you what, let's get cracking. So today I'm very honored to be in great company. And that company is the very wonderful Mr. Michael Lamb. Hello, Michael. How are you, sir?
Good to be alive. Thanks very much for having us on, Phil. It's been quite an interesting year so far, and definitely a good week. Good to be back here in the studio with you.
Well, thank you so much for joining us here. And we've got a few people sort of wandering into the chat room, and so we'll have a few questions hopefully come through. But thank you so much for joining us. We know you're a busy man. You and Manuel are both super busy people, and so to take some time out to share some good vibes and good knowledges and good wisdoms with the good people out there, it's my great pleasure. Thank you so much.
You're most welcome. It's great to be back. It's been about 3 weeks now since our last podcast, or two. I'm starting to lose track of time because I'm doing multiple time levels, probably preparing myself for the next cycle incarnation.
That's it. And yeah, I mean, I think a lot of us, I've noticed as I get older too, like the time just slips. Like, I start something at 3 o'clock and then I wake up and it's the next day or something, like it's, I'm still doing the thing. Yeah. So
Yeah. Well, that's the beauty of Hermetics. One tends to work in one's own world, and you're always, well, in my opinion, you're always building your own world rather than being programmed from other, television, mainstream radio, and so on and so forth. I mean, not that they're not helpful influences. Yet the thing is the belief of self and what your purpose and what your mission is. And that's a big statement for a lot of young people. However, we find that we adapt to create what we love doing and spend as much quality time with nature or creative people and other, creative souls. And that's the big thing,
yeah, I think that's wonderful. Like you said, we're creating our own world here, and as part of what I'm discovering is that there's this process of liberation from external influences that takes
Yes.
place at many
Yes.
levels. And this is the long part of the journey is that we get to know these things, and by virtue of getting to know them, we are then able to separate them from ourselves, and so they're less active in driving our decision making and how we walk throughout the day. And
Yeah.
and even that in itself, that may not be what you might think of as like the sexy end of Magick, but the thing is,
It's definitely not.
but the thing is all this releasing opens up new doorways and new vistas, and you've suddenly, it's I think it's a forgotten treasure of the conversation about Hermetics is this liberation that just is very, yeah, I struggle to find words for it sometimes because as much as I want to be shooting fireballs at the top of the mountain while I'm flying above it and all the rest of it, there's also this thing of like finding deeper meaningfulness and a richness that I didn't have the capacity to be aware of.
Yes, as many of us wish to be at the top of the mountain shooting fireballs, lightning, and creating elemental golems and the rest of it, as it were. However, I do believe there's a lot of accuracy, that developed out of a lot of the movies and the grimoires, as we're speaking about it last time. And that stuff obviously went into movies and mainstream video gaming and things along those levels, because it's actually got the truth in it. And this is how the world works. A lot of people don't understand how, certain timelines get hijacked, and that's why it's important to focus on who we are and what we need to do with ourselves. The change doesn't happen outside as well. It does, but it's quite insignificant in the real scheme of things. Whereas opposed, we're making the change within us, then it's changing outside. So you get that balance of internal, external alchemy. As you're building, whether it be the chakras, or as Barden puts it eloquently, you become that pinpoint, like the neutron star, while you're actually extending your soul and your Akashic body out into different layers. So you're in the physical body, yet it's still home to your soul and your Akashic body. So you can go on multiple levels and journeys there. And if you want to be able to, bend those elements, that just awaken your dreams, become lucid in the astral planes, and you can do anything on the other side there. However, I'm sure there's karmic consequences due to good old Saturn.
Well, so here's the thing, right? So dreams, this isn't, we'll just go wherever with this because it's just so fun because, you've got so much great stuff to share. You've got such a wealth of knowledge, but you've done a couple of laps and you've seen a couple of things, haven't you?
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
So it's like, that's it.
Mhm.
That's it. And so, talking about dreams, for example, now, I find that, for example, if we sort of circle Mr. Barden here, now he doesn't really talk about dreams, and there is certainly, I've discovered, a value in maintaining some level of relationship with the dream experience. Essentially it's 8 hours that you can capitalize on. You do need to actually get, if you sleep for 8 hours, I don't, but
that's true.
That period of sleep, like part of it needs to be rejuvenational delta type sleep that our body and mind, everything needs to rejuvenate. But then if we get up 2 or 3 o'clock, do a bit of meditation, go for a walk, go back to bed, we can kick off lucid dreams, these types of experiences. But this, I've found that, when I have a good, healthy dream life, or an active dream life, I should say, it does need to be tempered, because if I write lots of detail, if I write my dream diary, then it can become a tyrannical process. It's like, oh, you like this stuff, here's more. And so you kind of open these floodgates that are like, it's great, I get great memory recall, but there's all these benefits that come from dream work, or even just recalling your dreams. And you just sort of briefly touched on it there, but have you got anything you can add to sort of maybe encourage or highlight the value of engaging with dreams and on the Hermetic path?
Very good question indeed. The dream level is actually, the astral planes, and there's layers to the astral planes. When we're doing the School of Inner Knowledge, we broke it into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 layers. It's not spoken about in Barden's work. However, it is in Blavatsky's and Alice A. Bailey's and many of the other occult teachings. And there's a lot more work that goes into dreams and mastering astral. There's books and all sorts of aspects where you can help yourself. However, let's get into the nitty gritty of it. When you're going into your dream state, it's that key just before you go into what we call, it's the twilight zone, in between going in and going out. And I do my best to master that. So it's usually programs beforehand. Remember the command, the power of command before, and it's that real masteryship of the time. Before you go in, I will remember my dreams. Now, simple. However, it may be oversimplified for a lot of the practitioners here. So let's have a look at, I will not just only master my dreams, I will awake on the other side, and I'll awake. Now, remember, time and space in this world, let's look at it as 4 dimensions to the 4 elements, so time as being the 4th dimension. It's inverted in the astral plane. So space becomes time and time becomes space. Now, we can get into that as we explain the astral plane. Now, when we're on the other side, I will wake up and know the commands. So these are internal programs. If you're mastering the astral plane, you need to know it and map it out. And this is what we teach in Hermetic Mastery, our new programs, because that's where there's a key challenge, because the astral plane is the emotional body as well. So we're talking about E and motion, energy and motion. And that's where our soul, astral body, as opposed to our spirit. Now, spirit wants to have all these incredible, it's multiple lifetimes, but soul is mainly about this cycle. Now, your soul's going to speak to you, I know, in metaphor, symbols, and similes, these kind of metaphors. So you might be having a series of dreams encounters. So it's that mastership of the dream is mastership of the astral body and the emotions, because you'll read it. Through your coming days, you'll have the deja vu aspect where you can just grasp, oh yeah, I've been here before. You can go places in the world, and it's like, it might be even your local area. you were meant to be here from a previous cycle or previous incarnation. So you're on deja vu, but you're on top of the dream aspect or the astral planes. And as you develop the astral planes, it's to liquid. So it has that consistency of water. Now we have all these fluids in us, and it's a mastership. Like your vital force is basically your blood running through your body, but it's also your breath. So it's mental and astral again, air and liquid. And as you're becoming this is the key to the Magi. They're masters of their breath, and the breath is the command. You know, breathing, there's all these phenomenal techniques. There's no athlete on the planet that can't, you know, do proper breathing. They need it. High-end athletes do it. So we're doing it in the mastery of Hermetics and Magick. Does that make sense? Is that a nice answer for you?
Yeah, I think because part of, if we just use Barden's conversation, we're schooling these three bodies.
Yes.
And the dream environment offers a special type of schooling opportunity and a personalized pocket on the astral that is, I would like to think, is largely protected. It's like it's a private sand pit in some ways.
Yeah.
That we can. That's you know, I have this interaction with I refer to it as the dream poet. And because the whoever, whatever, however the dreams are coming through, they're coming through. There's an attempt to build a language bridge from a deeper aspect of you to your conscious mind, in a sense, and it's going to use familiar symbols and try to convey understandings through things that you should recognize. And some things are going to be more universalized type symbols, and some of them are going to be more personalized. But you're absolutely right. You've got you know, you've got metaphor, parable, allegory, simile. You've got all of these ways, and that's why I think you know, anyone who gets into these works that does a bit of their own fictional writing and journaling, and that, you know, when you get into the flow of storytelling, that is kind of how I feel the dream poet is trying to communicate information. And I think too, sometimes it's not trying to tell you what to do or how to think. It's just reflecting information through a different lens. Maybe there's a part of you. I mean, there's lots of different types of dreams. And sorry, I could just go on about this, but you know, as far as a hermeticist goes, you know, the value in learning, because what are the skills required to maintain the dream environment, right? Because when you're lucid, you can easily kick yourself out if you get all excited because your emotions get all inflamed, and you can just drop out of a lucid experience. It can color the experience. And so I've noticed that as I work through the Barden material, my relationship to dreams is I can hold the dream for longer. I've got more vividness, and it seems to be a more durable environment as well. It's like I'm training these things. These other parts of me won't run amok and break down, destabilize the environment. But this is just something I've noticed, of, like, you know, how to quantify ways of maintaining the dream experience and harvesting greater value is that you can get wowed by all of this interesting stuff, but that can also be a training in and of itself.
Yeah, the key is to never reflect, never put too many conditions on yourself. Even though we're in the discipline aspect, we're working with the key of our soul. So it's our character, it's our personality. And also we wish to have fun with it. Like you said, the poet, the storyteller, the songwriter. There's songs, if you listen to the song, will take you down a timeline, and bang, you're straight back in that environment with the people and with the energy. And now there's a key there with the mastering of the time. We do breathing, and we work a lot with the torus fields now, more than spheres. That way it gives us the energy to master the aspect of time, because time's a torus field and it connects the timelines. And we have it within our own bodies. This key that you say with about this, your true story, your story is the way that you present. And a good storyteller or a good poet, artist, or even a good sculptor, there's a story that's embodied and it captures the imagination. And we're working with, we want to bring forward our magi state of, And with that, the story is the magic. That's it. It's your take. And once again, MA is to liquid. It's the mastership of the water, the mother, the maternal aspect, and your thing, your story every day, even through your minor challenges and things like that go on. That builds the character, and also our shadow selves. It's important to look at that. And coming back to the question or the enhancement you said about schooling the physical body, the mental body, and the astral body, or the soul, as it were. And then, we bring it all together and it becomes the Akasha. That is what we're enriching here. So the dream is also capturing your daydreaming. I find some of the most intelligent and fun and creative people are daydreamers, because in reality, their soul's talking back to them, or they're downloading or they're uploading energy and knowledge to be creative. And if you're a creator, you're like a young deity or a young god, as you will. So you're in that space of creativity, and with visualization and your focus, you bring that to life. This is the discipline. You become the magi of your own world. You become that master. And you're building the fire. I mean, many of the students now have been blown out. They're seeing auras. They're feeling the heat build into themselves. They can also feel the massive coldness, when they work with deep elemental aspects as well. So that story, you're enhancing it through the way that you visualize and energize. You're amplifying and magnetizing and putting all these eyes into it, but it's the eyes to realize. There's some quaint poetry, and poetry, I would say, in my opinion, is what's not put in there. It's what's left out, and it's words that, it's powerful words that mean something. A good song's always going to be a good song. A great song's going to be, played out in the future. And our story is our song.
That's beautiful. I liken it to this too. Like, you can get a bunch of sounds and they are just data points or information, and they may they may not be unpleasant in themselves. Like, they're just like a sound, like a pleasant tone. But when you organize them together into a melody, that it's like there's an organizational principle that adds a level of beauty and joy that I think humans have a special knack for, of rearranging things, taking things and then organizing them. Somebody once said that music is evidence of the soul. And I think that there's a musicology, or you can take sounds and you can put them together in a meaningful way and you get music. I kind of think that we can do that with elements of life. It's completely analogous. And I think that there's a way to relate to practice as well, where we can essentially musicalize, or find ways to make our practice more musical, in a sense, with the components that we bring. So I'm wandering off here, but I just wanted to come back to this dream thing, because the dream is almost like you can actually construct your great version of yourself and your unfolding quest and story and path in life, and use the dream environment to sort of practice in building this, because we may feel very limited here and very not demotivated, disempowered here in the physical in a lot of cases, and we're seeking high lofty things. And the dream environment is essentially almost like a daily, or at least every other day, way to engage with wonderfully impossible, fantastic, and completely realizable things.
Very, very eloquently put there, Phil. With the story and the musicology, if I just get back to the first part of your statement, and it is a rhythm. There's 4 beats to the bar, 4 elements: 1, 2, 3, 4, A, B, C, D, abracadabra. Whichever way you stack it, you get back into the reality of the truth of this very, very simplistic thing. Yet it's like the 4th move in a game of chess. First 4, it's 4 is form in formation. Form work is how you stack, whichever way you want to work in any profession or business, or any way you approach your life. You have the form, and then you unlearn the form through your own intuition, putting together different ingredients. You go through the recipe, and as you practice and become at one with it, it becomes a natural part of you. It's part of your rhythm. It's your 4 beats to the bar, or your 12 golden beats, whichever way. You're just going to keep going to the clock, or the zodiac, or whichever way you look at the 12 signs of the Chinese. I know I tend to, like yourself, we go off on tangents. However, we've got very creative minds, and we look for different ways to share our story, share our love, our passion. And once again, love, passion, joy, enthusiasm, they're quite intricately connected to the water element, the liquid. Could you imagine if you could harness all the different types of liquids in your body? This is, everything from the perspiration to the sweat, to your tears, to your blood, to the plasma that reheals your body without even you thinking it. Plus your own sexual fluids that recreate who you are. This is the real key to sex magic and that kind of energy, and a mastership of the water element. And we go through that, I do when I'm teaching Hermetics, because it's Barden's work, but it's enhanced. So it's, we can answer it. So getting back to the dreams, we want to be able to, look at our dreams and come away with something. And what's the take home there? I fell off a cliff and it scared the hell out of me. I went up against the ogre, and the harder I tried to hit him, the more he just grew stronger and stronger, because up against negative beings, they feed on your negativity. So if you can overcome that with your joy or your adventurous soul, and you dance with fear rather than fight fear, it's the move. It's a classic chess move, or it's a strategy or a tactic that I feel that many of the Hermetic practitioners should throw in their quiver, or at least have it as their magical armor. And magic, in the sense of the word with a K, it's not just stage conjuration or illusion. It's a way to bring things into form, and we do that through magnetism. Waters to magnetism. Barden goes over this so many times. So it's an attractive force. Spirit always finds its level. It always finds all the water, all the rains, all the oceans, all the massive storms happening all the time. They come back together. And when you've got that, particularly if you're in harmony with your dreams, I've got a story I could share. A friend of mine was a teacher. He was teaching many different school systems through the week. Everything from he was in the Conservatorium of Music, and he'd be out, with these high school students, and then he'd have to come back, and then he was in a room, a medical facility with these autistic children. And, obviously they had issues with their physical and emotional development. However, at night in his dreams, these autistic kids were astrally aware beyond the average human being, that they could communicate on the astral planes like you and I are having this conversation now. He said, it blew my mind. He said, because they couldn't physically develop that skill, then, because of restriction, which is what this physical world does put on us, they developed another way. She'll always find a way. You'll see the plant grow up through the concrete, and it's about the attitude, it's if you're focused. And that's where it comes down to that subtle emotional body. I can do this. I need to focus on this, and I want to enjoy this ride. My story is as empowering and encouraging as anyone else's. Biographies and autobiographies enhance self-awareness, and they're very encouraging, as it were. So, just to answer the statement, and, encourage your dreams, because it's your dreams in this life. Even the way it's spelt is very magical. And magic is mastery of the feminine magnetism.
Bang, right there, everyone. That's for me. That's the that leans into the High Priestess card for me in a lot of ways.
Straight in.
But before we touch,
nice segue there. Yes,
I've got a question.
Yes.
Sorry, can
Number
I jump in
two
there?
in tarot. Yeah, go.
Yeah. Number two, bro. That card, for some reason, out of all of them, that one's like, I don't know. But I've got a question from the audience here I'd like to put up. Someone's got a question about a dream experience that they had. And I'd like to get your feedback on this. A friend of mine has a question. He woke up in a very vivid dream and saw his deceased parent. To what extent should he trust that entity? Now, there's probably a bit more context that could be drilled out to get to whatever. But Michael, if you're able to share anything.
That's a very good question, and it's a big issue that comes up, and that question comes up again and again when we're working with elemental beings of the spheres. When we do that particular workshop, how do I trust these beings? What's the real thing? Because obviously there are negative entities playing, behind the scenes. And this becomes an aspect of trust and knowing. This is why we school our mental body, our soul, and our akasha, so that one knows. And also, there'll be keys. You can't go through with too hard an aspect on life. Listen to the being out, even if it's a deceased person. I had a very, very, very close friend. Well, he's a very high vibrational teacher, and he had an event that saved his life. His cat had deceased, and he come back to him in the dream and saved his life through this phenomenal story that he tells live on stage, because it's an aspect. When it's in the dreams, it's someone you know and trust, there'll be metaphors there for you to work out. It's kind of like a song combination or a sound combination that is there. And that, I would say, would be tuned into yourself, exactly saying, if you come in peace or you're here, I need to know. So while you're in the dreams, you have to say that, or at least have it before you go. So let's say we look at some astral armor or astral shielding or programming. You're programming that, or program, grammar spell. You're programming. You're predetermining the battlefield, as it were, or your field of vision. You're putting, in my essence, or my truth exactly, if you come in peace, can you please be clear with your message? This will narrow the metaphor down. It becomes, Now, once again, it's like a song. It can be interpreted different ways. If someone's saying something to you, it's the emphasis on the word. The same sentence, different emphasis on one word, changes the whole context completely. If I said to you, it's good to see you, Phil. 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 When you put the emphasis, so this is toning, and this is another aspect of the true Kabbalah, when you change the tone of the sound and the color vibration. And we're finding different sounds have a lot more aspects. So when you come across the being, to answer the question simply and elegantly, you must tune into yourself, have a look at it, and particularly if you can look them in the eyes and hold that in the astral plane. I know that takes discipline and time, but ask that being, are you here for my betterment? They have to answer because of cosmic law. Even negative beings have to follow that, So that would be my answer to that question.
Wonderful. Thank you for that. I like I was saying before, I really feel after years of exploration that dreams are almost like an overlooked gold mine for development, and there is so much utility in. I mean, if you wake up in the morning and you've got a few fragments of a dream and you write them down, those fragments start to unfold, right?
Yes, they do.
And what that does is it helps to work your recall. And some exercises, like there's one before bed where you go back through the course of the day and you're just keeping your memory active. You're keeping your things fall by the wayside because we're thinking forward and we're more conscious. But this idea of writing your dreams down, you're also going to be practicing visualization to an extent
Yes.
as well, you know.
Mhm.
And so when you're able to concentrate, so there's several books out on lucid dreaming, as we all know, and one of the
Yes,
ones I
yes.
came across was a great 3-part practice exercise, very similar to the first exercises of Barden's, actually, the first mental ones, where
Oh,
it's
yeah.
literally about the 3 cognitive faculties to exercise to ensure dream duration, stability, and vividness.
Mhm.
And those 3 sorts of infrastructure kind of like contributors can help to maintain it, because when you're in a lucid dream or even in a
Mhm.
dream, you know, if you're not aware in it, you're just going to respond like it's real life. Like, for all you know, everything's you're just happy with what's going on. You just generally accept it, right? And
Yeah.
it's funny because when you wake up in the morning and you write your dream out, and you know this, that you're just treating it like it's like a real everyday thing, and you go, wow, I'm pretty quick to accept some quite bizarre things and that, and I'm okay with
Mhm.
some things. And the other aspect is, it's absolutely brilliant as a feedback monitor for your black and white mirror. I actually
Perfect.
think that you know, you can wake up with equilibrium in the morning if you know how to work your dreams properly as well. You
Yes, you
can wake up
can.
with great peace. You can wake up jumping out of bed. You can also wake up extremely exhausted, like you've run a 20K marathon. That doesn't happen too often, but that comes with the territory.
Yes, it does. It really does, depending on what you're doing on the other side. Now, as you know, with quantum entanglement and quantum physics, or anything we do on the astral planes, we can exist in multiple places at once. Now, this is very, very challenging for most people to accept. I mean, there is a lot of scientists that actually have Franz Barden's books as well, because they're looking at
Mm,
spiritual, because this is where we work. It's a master of spiritual and science, but it's all the disciplines that come with it. Now, with the running out of energy, you may be working on the other side in another plane and dimension, depending on your makeup. And if you're doing that, you might be learning, and it's like you've run a marathon. Also, it can be freezing. You're woken up in a cold sweat. I mean, that's just the beginnings of this. Also, you have a nap for 10 minutes and you've gone on the other side for 2 days.
yeah.
There are other aspects. You can control whether you go in the future or the past with your dreams. There's some really strong keys here. And this is, once again, part of the astral mastery, not just of Franz Barden's work and Initiation of Hermetics and Evocation and the True Kabbalah. However, it's also the way of many of the great masters. It just has to be that way because, like you said, it's nearly a third of our life. 8 hours we spend sleeping. However, we can't just do 8 hours every night, depending on our lifestyles, you know, whether we're shift workers or we get a
Mhm.
2-hour nap here, or, you know, got 3 hours sleep last night. So you have to manage it over a month or something along those lines, you know, where you power up, and then you might be working, you know, 12-hour days, and then teaching and then studying and researching, plus you've got a family and all these other things, you know, financial stress and pressure. And then you'll have this time where your body just says, no, I'm not going anywhere. So as much as our physical body is here in this realm, our soul needs to recharge and work it connect to its real source, you know, and that's very much, like you say, it's the high priestess, which we teach in the Hermetic Tarot about, you know, the true planetary influence of the high priestess and the magician and those powers. And this can be obviously laid out. So we go into the magnetism of the feminine there. Even his third book obviously relates to the Empress. Okay.
Mm.
So these are planetary energies. And if you can understand true magnetism, it's so coming back into oneself. You're running the magic of fluids in your body, and all the time, even saliva, you know, your tear ducts, you know, mucus in your nose, all these things. But it's a combination of the elements simultaneously. So you're mastering time. So when we're back in the dream state, time is different there. Please make a note of that. And it's the same as in other elemental planes and dimensions. Time is only relevant in this physical plane by laps around the sun. Also, if you're in a matriarchal or elemental state, you'll be working to the moon cycles. If you go back to the original 13 lunar feminine cycles, they're 28 days, which is obviously a blood cycle, which is life force. There's nothing nasty or anything about it. It's power, it's energy. Blood is vital force, nothing like it. So you have 13 rather than the way they've shifted it, made it 12, and December's at 10 and it's the 12th month. That's all been manipulated. It's changed. So people's timing and cycles are a little bit out. And that's why 30 days have September, April, June, and November. There was 13 28s. And there's the leap year and all that. We talk about that. But if you get into that, that's a matriarchal calendar, which is obviously where other things have met. But if you're working with lunar cycles, I mean, even if you're a farm or you're growing plants or you're growing energy, we've just kicked this off just after new moon, ironically. It's a powerful time. Yes, exactly. I've just lost. There's your sound. Are you back on? Yeah.
Sorry. Thank you. Yes. No, I just wanted to say, sorry to interrupt. I just want to say happy new moon, everybody. This cast started 3 minutes after the actual new moon. So it's a very auspicious event. And so please carry on, because you're right. The lunar cycle is very visible and very powerful and easy to work with, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, plants, and seasons and cycles. When you tune into that, you become very, very good, whether you're an angler, a fisherman, or any of the outdoor activities and sports. Plus also, if you work with that, this is how the masters built the most phenomenal homes. There's buildings in this world that are hundreds and hundreds of years old, and the timber, the wood, is not affected by warping, ants, termites, even fire. Some of these things cannot be affected by that. They're so resistant to the fire, because of the way they were harvested in harmony with the moon. That's a key, because at maximum moon, the moisture in your body increases. Obviously, as we know, people go loony, lunacy, lunatic, the lunar time. That's not fantasy, it's proven. And also, the werewolf activity, the primal aspect comes in. And when you go into new moon, the moisture decreases. And this is, if you're laying timber floorboards or building a house, if you know these secrets, you've got an edge on the average person. You really have. And this works right across the board with any kinds of liquids. You can go to most professions and things. There's an old saying, millionaires don't use astrology, but billionaires do. They live by it, and they don't share it. They don't think people are worthy of it. And so we're in this world where we find, those that come to us, we show them the keys. And sometimes it's just way too much. They just can't layer it. However, we're overcoming those that wish to know about the true magic, the magnetism, the magi. This is where we show them how to work with everything from metals to crystals. And that's, a key aspect, mastering their dreams. And there's some really, fun ways of doing this. I mean, look at the greatest bands, like, for example, I could use many examples. Let's say Queen, all right, for example. Brian May built that guitar with his father. He built that guitar. Now, that guitar has made and played these incredible anthems. And obviously, Freddie Mercury's voice, Freddie Mercury. What a name. That must be Freddie Hermetics. Mercury is Hermetics. And they've got anthems, and they'll be playing those songs 50 years in the future in stadiums, I want it all, we are the champions, we will rock you. And that's an anthem. It's not just a song. It's not a pop song. That's an anthem that drives energy through. It excites you, goosebumps, and away you go. So that music is being played. So you would say Freddie and that band broke up many, many, decades ago, although they're still playing. They're playing beyond the grave, so they're beyond time itself. So time and liquid, helps here, this mastery of this magnetism. And this gets back neatly to our story and our dream states. This is the real deep one. Most people, or even initiates and neophytes and zealots and adepts, have issues with the water element. So it's a big key to the love aspect, but it's also the magnetism and balance.
You know, just bringing on the impactful nature of these, you know, songs of great renown, and you know, and then you look at the sort of the backstory of some of these musos and who they were associating with, and all these types of things. I mean, I've heard plenty of great stories about, you know, like the guys, the Moody, was it the Knights in White Satin? Was that the Moody Blues?
Moody Blues, yes.
Yeah. So apparently, they got interviewed by a chap who was writing about, you know, rock and roll songs of history and, you know, the greatest rock songs. And apparently they had a, you know, like basically had an extraterrestrial encounter, the two of them at the same time. And that's what prompted the Knights in White Satin song. And there's all these stories about, you know, like, you know, McCartney, I think it was either Hey Jude or Let It Be. He was, you know, the melody came to him in a dream. And now, regardless of, oh my gosh, where did it come from? It's like, the thing is, though, that stuff has left such an impression, almost carved in stone in the public psyche and the unconscious, right? So
literally.
when I was teaching guitar to young kids, the easiest thing to teach them to learn to play was nursery rhymes that everybody knows. They're almost like universal jingles. I'm pretty sure other planets have row, row, row your boat with a whole different set of words, maybe. You know,
well spotted. I think you've got you've got yourself a whole YouTube channel on that for sure. Nursery rhymes are very powerful. They go back a long, long way. And even in advertising, you know, the advertising community used to have this about, they'd say, well, there's the A, B, C, and D, because advertising's so powerful. And if you don't think it is, I know people that are just absolutely, I don't care how smart and intelligent, they're still eating food that's programmed into them. The mainstream. So there's the A, B, C, and D of society. This is how there was the dumb people, the clever people, the brilliant people, and A were the advertising people. And they were using a lot of nursery rhymes. It's incredible because it'll get into, it's got a subconscious hook in the astral level. And then it and it will play, and you're in a loop, in a feedback loop. Just a quick observation, just how powerful subliminal nursery rhymes and hooks are. And music is a very, very strong aspect. It's sound. There's multiple cultures on the planet that start, you know, the world starts with sound, you know, or your energy starts with sound. And here we are speaking. It's through communication skills.
Well, this is it, you know, popular songs with catchy hooks. When I was a guitarist, I was just listening to the cool stuff that Eddie Van Halen and Slash and Santana were dropping. And then once I started exploring, getting into magic practice and actually listening to the mantras that these things were generating, and you're just enjoying the music, and they're saying something that not everyone reads the lyrics. And I was a musician. Most guitarists don't read the lyrics, as far as I know, back in my day. You know, well, that's the singer's job. And then you go to the bar and you're getting on the juice and you're reciting these almost like sometimes these marketing slogans and these mantras through the music and these types of things. And if you play a song, because there were kids who were listening to songs over and over and over and over and over again, repeating the mantra. Like music is it's a very socially acceptable for the large part, and it's so powerful. And I think you're right. You know, you can't really overstate the influence of popularity, because if everyone's thinking about it and you're empathic, you will probably pick up on it, and it can affect you a bit more subconsciously too. Like when I got sensitive with energies and things like that, that was a double-edged sword, because yes, I could feel more, but I can feel more. And what else am I taking on that's slipping underneath a little bit too? You know, and so you were talking before about protection and things like that, and I'd love to hear you talk more about that, brother.
Well, funnily enough, we have these online workshops, and we go into the detail where we've come across many of the practitioners, and particularly those doing Hermetics. We get an opportunity to, you know, from my experience, to connect the dots. People come across, oh my God, I can't do this thing of Barden's work. I said, well, let's look at it this way. So we reverse engineer it so that it's useful for them and practical. Or it's not that you've got to go through every step. I know Barden's and we do our best to stay to every step. However, with the online programs that we have, our first one's initiation of Hermetics. So we go through the magical schooling, really tuning into expanding, soul expansion. That's one, and spiritual development, as well as, then we move into the elements in the next program. And then we go into spiritual and psychic protection and how to build, protective energy spheres, which becomes a big issue because that's what we're doing with music when we're younger. Usually hard rock, you might be using, let's say, Sweet Child of Mine by Guns N' Roses, very powerful songs. As I saw it, so these guys are going to hit this before it was even a hit. I saw it on one of these things. These guys got it. And the elements of the band, you can remember the names of the fellows and everything. And it's the drumming too, as well as the bass. All this gets overlooked. A very good bass player, blah, 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 Anyway, getting back to the point, going through it the way we teach it, or I've had to learn to teach, and it's taken me like decades to put this together. And now, I found the magic with Manuela. We've got this magic way of teaching it, and we're getting phenomenal results, particularly with the protection in the astral and mental planes, and also people are developing a lot of their connection to the dreams. So this gives you the chance to really, get in harmony with your own rhythms and strengthen you. Yeah, by the fourth workshop, we do, online 8 hours, 1 hour a day. We're developing psychic skills. And, we go through each of the psychic skills, whether it be clairvoyance or clairaudience, clairsentience, and then we get into the sophiance and many other skills. And we show you how to develop that through your soul and your spirit. So you're starting to develop an advanced intuition. You've got an intuition, but we want to go to next level, sort of, getting the realms of prophecy. Not that everyone's a prophet. A lot of psychics think they are, but they're generally just mediums. So we're looking at the development of this, so it's a tangible aspect. Once again, we're not blowing fire bolts and lightning out of our hands just yet, although I've had some pretty damn, awesome experiences in this cycle. I have to put them up, some of the things that have happened. Great experiences, as it were. But once again, it's a rhythm and tuning into nature. You want to work with nature. You don't want to go against it. This is how it's working. And like we said, we just had the new moon, and it's a condensing time, ideas, cleaning up, getting ready for, the next expansion of the next magnetism of the full moon, as it were. The moon's a very, very interesting object. By the way, it relates very, very heavily to the High Priestess, which we teach in Hermetic Tarot, which is what I'm doing in my. Myself and Manuela were teaching it, had to bring her into the program. It's a 13-day program, and it's phenomenal because people understand that behind the arcana is powerful forces that shape not just, the geometric patterns of plants and jams, but much, much more there. They're very, very rich teachings,
Yeah, this so this is really great because I think when if you start off with Barden's book,
yes.
and you read it through, I would suggest to everyone to read it cover to cover. Just familiarize yourself with it. As a teacher, part of what I would do for anyone who's wanting to get into something is study the form and get as much of it intellectually digested or percolating anyway, because there's a lot to unpack. I mean, when I found Mark Rasmus, before I found Barden, Mark Rasmus introduced me to Barden. I was listening to Mark for a couple of years before I got a really good grasp of the lexicon, just from an intellectual point of view, because this is dense metaphysics and it's experiential metaphysics, but there's certain linkages between the experience and the knowledge that only happen through practice. And so when it comes to maintaining momentum on the path, and being encouraged to keep moving forward, I think this is one of the reasons why I really like this YouTube format that I'm sort of playing with interviewing people is because there's lots of practices out there that are really good people, I think, and they're wanting to make change in the world and they're wanting to be potent, and they realize that it's come back to them to sort themselves out and become internally refined and powerful in that, and then they might witness the outgoing effects of that. But maintaining the momentum and staying enthusiastic, especially when it's pretty it can be pretty grim out there, if you turn on
Yes,
that
yes, it can be.
Black mirror.
Absolutely. Mhm. Yeah, one must keep their focus on what their true intention is, or find something that brings them back to themselves. And to sit. That's why we're talking mainly about the magnetism or the energy of the moon, because it's going to control your moods, months and moods. It's a mood cycle. And people say, oh, it's women are like this and men are like this. And so, yeah, that's a generalization, because your mood is there. It's still an energy. It's still a raw energy from the causal plane, the akasha, as Barden or I'll say Bailey puts it. And as it comes down, people think they're thinking it all themselves. They are. Once they start to take over and take control, most people tend to be, they're very much not aware of the deeper aspects of their own nature. So when you really take control of your own sun, your own akashic principle, and you put that into practice, and you do need a good teacher, this will help. It's just, what I teach, obviously, the planetary aspects. I mean, the planet Jupiter means guru, means teacher, and relates to many of the great powerful beings on this planet who've been here before. We have a day after it.
And so Mars is a trial to get to Jupiter?
Yes, you have to do it in sequence. Exactly. Obviously, you've well spotted in Barden's work. Yes.
Yeah.
Mars is the warriors. Yeah, it's the martial arts level, the warrior pathway. Where the feminine go through Venus. Venus will take them, they'll project straight up to Jupiter on the tree of life. Whereas most guys get stuck at Mars for the rest of life, because the next one after that is like you've got to go through the Jupiter aspect, and that's relationship and civility and business and commerce and things like that. It stops a lot of people. I will show you the way it works and how to balance that and then get through Saturn.
Yeah, so that's a whole nother conversation. Is that
it is
planetary return path in line with the Sephiroth, and is like I definitely have we've got some I've got some images here to pull up towards the end so we can show people this this wonderful body of teachings that you've put together over the years, and with also working with Manuela and that too. So we definitely want to give that some exposition, because this is available online as well. Like, they don't have to sort of meet you in physical proximity. So these teachings are readily available in a digital format.
Yeah, what we're doing here on the Sunshine Coast, we're at Kings Beach next to Happy Valley, which is wonderful. It's we've got an in-person workshop on initiation and Hermetics, and it's really about, for the adepts that are practitioners in holistic fields, whether they're healers or they're mediums, and we develop that. It's a 5-day program, it's there as the brochure, but we do it in person so they get hands-on practice. And we're taking people more through the Magi initiation, through the Magick invocation aspect. So yeah, the in-person workshop there is on the Sunshine Coast, aptly named. So that's from the 19th to the 23rd. Into Hermetics and the elements, level 1, and we do tap protection as well. Now, the second program we have on that, so a 6-day program, and that's
is that the other image?
Pardon?
You've given me 2 images, so just let me know if you need me to switch to the other image.
Yeah, just keep this one here. This is the main workshops, and in the end, we'll do the big icing on the cake, which is the Hermetic Tarot, Chiang Mai. Mark's course finishes and then mine starts. We're both in Chiang Mai. He asked me to work on that, and I said, yeah, I've got it. And we're developing that. So anyway, into the in-person workshops, here we have the second one. is psychic skills and protection. That's level 2. That's in person as well. You know, we come in, we train you, we work on your energy fields, your aura, and getting the development of your own spirit and your psychic ability. So we're testing them. You know, they're not blank tested. We're not leaving out there. We have a support program going as well. So that's in the 11th to the 16th of October. That's another in-person workshop here on the Sunshine Coast here in Australia, Queensland. So they're the 2 in-persons, and the next in-person workshops in Thailand, in Chiang Mai. We're doing the Hermetic Tarot from the 1st to the 13th, 11. So that's a full workshop, and we take you through planets and the high arcana and the elements. Again, I run through the elements because they're the foundation of element, and people have to be able to build, you know, the energy within them, and we'll get so you feel liquid, so you feel earth, so you can change the atmosphere around you, so that you can, you know, as Barden says, you get in 4 glasses of water and you're going to change the energy in front of you. It's subtle, but that's where we're going with it. It's not just like the psychology, it's the physiology of it. Okay, so you're changing your body, and you know you're changing your awareness. You're actually bringing the energy out. And then in person in Chiang Mai, we've got the psychic skills and protection. We're going to run an in-person workshop there from the 18th to the 23rd as well. Chiang Mai seems to be really good. It's obviously the old capital. There's the old city there. It's a lot of temples, and you've got a lot of that dragon, Nagar energy there in the temples. Another thing here on the online ones, they're a lot more closer. Some of your initiates and practitioners there, they'd be keen to look at the 25th of this month, July. We've got the truth behind crosses. We're just going to go for a couple of hours on a workshop, and the different types of crosses, from the Ankh to, you know, the different energies there. I won't give away too much. It's going to be very, very good. And that's just $79 for an online program for 2 hours to study with us and practice, you know, really practice for this energy. And then the 26th and the 28th, we've got the advanced magic metals, gems, and sacred geometry. So we've got a workshop where we touch on the real power behind gemstones. Why are they venerated? You know, this technology we're talking about, what we're using right now, you're talking to me through gemstones and metals, you know, and also geometry of how they're laid out and why that relates to temples and things. So that's a really good workshop. Yeah, that's from the 26th of August to the 3rd of 3rd of the 10th. It's actually the 3rd of September, actually.
Yes.
Exactly. It's a 8-day program, not a 38-day program. Initiation of Hermetics, we kick off again. We're redoing all the intermediate levels here. Initiation of Hermetics, that's from the 29th, the 7th to the 5th, the 8th. We're redoing another like online program. Obviously, the in-person workshops, we give you a lot more personal development there. And once again, in from the 26th of August to the 2nd of September, we're doing the 5 elements again, and then protection, and then psychic skills, then spheres, dimensions, and beings. And then obviously next year we're running the whole Tree of Life program. It's a 10-month program where they get to understand the Tree of Life, Barden's True Tree of Life, and the different layers to that as well. That'll help you a lot with evocation and Kabbalah as well.
Wonderful. Thank you. Oh my gosh. Geez, aren't we spoilt, everyone? My goodness. Now, I just wanted to say, we've got another question here, and we've got a couple of questions. If you'd like to take a question from the audience, Michael. No, not that one. Where are we? Okay, here we go. So this has got some relevance because I have catastrophe type dreams from time to time, and sometimes it's followed by something, I don't know, like, anyway, is the future perhaps in dreams already fixed, or rather in a constant flow? And how close are we actually to a World War III situation? And would this show in dreams? So there's probably a bunch of questions there, but I'll just let you pick from that, Michael, what you're happy to answer.
Well, there's all these people that have these drowning dreams, and they have the catastrophe dreams, and they have the wars and the battles. and people are looking at World War III as a physical conflict. And there's a lot of beings that are working to stop that conflict. However, as you know, for every positive being, there's a negative because of this plane of duality that we live in. Now, many people, when they have these dreams that they're being flooded and they're drowning, they're seeing, these beach areas. I mean, the amount of, let's say, fear that develops from that is huge. And in these drowning dreams or these disaster dreams, people think that I've had it, the mediums think that they're prophets. They've got this story to tell everyone, I'll move away from the beach and move away from the... And people have been saying that ever since I started this work, 30 years. As I said, ever since there's been the beginning of the world, there's been the end of the world being prophesized. And it's not, Nostradamus' stuff is so vague and, it's this year it's going to happen. It's this year it's going to happen. Let go of that. Please let go of that. All right. Disasters and things happen. All right. You will be very awakened to when to move. If you trust and work with this work, you'll know. But when there's these World War III, it's you. It's happening to you. All right. And it's a world. And same with the dreams and the drowning. It's relevant to you. When there's flooding and the whole place, it's not like that flood's happening. There are floods and things like that happen. Obviously, the tsunami in Japan and things like that. You will know the difference between if it's happening to you and it's happening externally. It's serious. And you will get that barometer within you. And that's what we're working on. Your thermometer, your barometer, because you can change the energy either way. So when you have the disaster dreams, I want you to seriously wake up, whether you write it down or record it. Sometimes 3 o'clock in the morning is a hard time to write a lot of words. Just look at it and think, okay, what's the real reason behind here? People say, what if we're being attacked and we're doing all this? It's like, well, that's relevant to you. Because ever since the world started, there's been battles and wars taking place. If you focus on that attention and that energy flow, then it creates that. If you are impressed to move, you'll be impressed to move. Now, this sounds like it might sound a little bit new agey, but it's not. If you trust this work and you know who you are, your guides, you'll get given these guides, and those that will work with you, they're assigned to you because they have to develop as well. You have to trust that. And this is your intuition. It's not just the dream, it's learning about your intuition. And when you see these World War III aspects, that is a very, very big aspect to get into. It really is. But generally, I would say 99% of the time, it's with you. Because if it's a serious thing, it's going to rattle you. So the battles, you brought it inside you with the emotions, and you're dealing with people around you, or it can be something as solid as changing work, or you're conflicting with friends or family or professional colleagues. Look at it for what it is. Because the amount of people that think they're going to predict this and they're going to do this and they're not. Mediums, even with your psychic skills, are not prophets. A prophecy, I've done it. It is seriously, I did in the School of Inner Knowledge, and it is hardcore. It is seriously hardcore because you're literally living it. Bill used to get us up the front of the class. This is back in the 80s and the 90s. And he'd make us a circle and you draw it and you bring in these beings. And I mean, you just feel like another living force, and you feel the energy and the magnetism. Whereas people get the prophecy books like Nostradamus, it's just so vague, which a lot of teachers, or a lot of these mediums, that they think that they've got this, this is the next Antichrist. The Antichrist is already here. It's already been here thousands of years. That kind of energy, that should answer that question.
Yeah, thank you for that. And you're absolutely right. I feel that the dream poet or the provider of the dreams has visually appropriate ways of emphasizing the intensity of a drama in your life. I mean,
Yes.
It could actually be an urgency being expressed in the form of the world coming to an end, but it's because you've been thinking about paying the power bill but haven't done anything about it, and it's starting to build up in the background. These things... because you're right, like blessed there are people who are having, genuine experiences. And this is another great topic, actually, is like, and I'm going to be talking with some people about this on Monday, Mark and Bob. We're going to be talking about secrecy and essentially the pillar of silence, and how, because I'm sure you've been in many situations where people are extrovertly and outwardly just flooding you with their experiences that they're
Yes.
having, whether it's
Mhm.
for a validation or they feel like it's an important thing they need to share because they feel it's got some actuality or relevance or importance, and that,
Mhm.
and I found that because when I started having experiences, when I got into meditation, I wanted to tell everyone. When I become a Reiki practicer or an energy healer, and I
Mm.
was helping people, I wanted to tell everyone. It just didn't go anywhere, and all it did was diminish me. Have you got anything to share on
Yes.
this topic, my brother?
Yeah, absolutely. Well informed. And the question is, when you start this work, you have these incredible experiences, you start connecting the dots, and particularly from people like, oh my God, everything that I thought was fantasy is actually real. And it's the way you speak fantasy. It's like science fiction. Take the F away and put PH there, the way we do it, in Kabbalah, and you've got science phi, which is the golden mean, the true reality. So many of the truth seekers wrote their experiences as fiction because the mainstream doesn't want this to come out because of certain places and power brokers. Let's not get into that. We're not going to that. But I found the same thing as every single one of us do. When you find this, you try and explain it, you've hit, but it's for you. And yet you want to explain and express it. So you have to find the way that you can explain or express, the way you wish to teach, or your mission or your purpose that is going to fulfill your life. Because if you're just trying to explain it to the average person, they're just going to look at you as, what size straight jacket would you like today? In high vis orange, and it's got a nice titanium chain, and we'd like to give you this, because it's quite amusing. The thing is, like, because we've hit these things, oh my God, look at this energy. I can read my dream. This all makes sense now. However, to the average person, you might as well be from another planet, or you might as well be a fallen angel, or you might as well be, a cosmonaut, astronaut, or juggernaut. You've come in from another world and zone, and you're in this realm. It's like, oh, I've awakened my faculties. These people haven't. All right. So, you're a soul. Don't like using the word awaken because of, oh God, who knows where it's all gone now in the mainstream. I don't care. The point is, when it clicks, it's like you start to see through the veils, or at least the first level of the veils. Because if you see through too much, it can really disturb. So you have to just take it in bite-sized chunks, with your meditations. And what kind of meditation would you like to work with? I go back through, if we work with form, the four, the element, we work and we get our guys to just bang, yeah. Oh man, I feel the fire, it's like, oh, it feels so beautiful, but it's not just the feeling, and it's not just the euphoria. It's about being able to manifest it and also catch the negative emotions with it as well. This, I hope, starts to answer, the question, or the greater thing behind the question. Just take it in bite-sized chunks. Your excitement and your enthusiasm is very much welcomed. However, you're going to have to curb it or channel it into some sort of way or form, whether it be through writing or poetry or storytelling. And it's a magic, because a true magician in this world is not welcome in the mainstream. It upsets the status quo. So you're going to have to find a channel or a direction so that you can, or hang out with people that are of your ilk, your tribe. You're going to find your tribe that works, your band, your crew.
That's wonderful. Yeah. I think, for myself, I have to say that I don't know if you're aware, a friend of mine, Greg Doyle, he's quite a well-known Reiki practicer in Brisbane.
Oh, excellent astral worker. Yes.
Yeah. He's a good friend and brother on the path. And, you know, I managed to get him to get a copy of Initiation into Hermetics, and he lives in Baden, right, which is pretty funny.
Yeah,
So
in
yeah,
Brisbane. Yes,
yeah. So
my
but
grandfather owned property there in Baden.
oh,
Yeah,
oh damn,
yeah.
okay.
No,
We
don't go there. Too many synchronicities.
well, we were talking, you know, and we're like going, man, we're bound to our paths. And like, you know, I'm
Mm.
fast, you know, I just saw the utility in energy healing, you know, like as far as applying metaphysical skill sets into the real world, you know, the system of Reiki is well known, but I do wander off here, but you know, like you're right, we have to channel these things and put, you know, we're developing all these skills. It's like building this amazing car that never leaves the garage, essentially, not to do anything in the world, you know. And
Very good metaphor. Thank you.
so I just wanted to say, you know, like you mentioned something else as well, which is as we become accustomed to these
Mhm.
new capacities, you know, we develop a resilience and a familiarity with them, so that they don't own us, we own them, because we spend time with them and get to know how they affect us and how we affect them, and then we take
Yes.
ownership of them. But you know, like obviously, if we get given you know, there's a reason why it takes 20 firemen to hold a fire hose, because it's just too much for one bloke to handle, you know. And
Mhm.
so, you know, you as you work through, I think, you know, in Initiation into Hermetics, Barden offers, when he does the breathing of the elements, he says you
Mhm.
can add a mental color, which is essentially leaning into the Kabbalah stuff.
Yes.
Okay. But he says it's optional, right? If anything, you want to focus on building up the detectable flavors of the 4 different ways to explore pliability of the astral body,
Mhm.
and learn how to stretch this astral muscle this way, this way, this way, and this way. And that kicks
Mhm.
open a bunch of doors. That makes stuff arise that you're going to have to deal with. And that's why it's good to do the soul mirror work, because that just flattens the peaks and gets you aware of things, because this stuff can become overwhelming.
Yes,
And
it
so,
does.
you know, would you like to comment on that at all? And then I've got another question for you after that, if that's okay.
Yeah, you add the flavor to the element when you're doing the breathing, your conscious breathing or circular breathing, like you know a true orator or speaker. And when you add all the elements in there, you'll want the color, because the color goes with the sound, and it goes with the shape, the number, and the vibration, because that's how you virtually define and bring the universe into the 5 that is. With sound, it's very exciting. With color, it enhances it.
Mm.
And your personality is going to reflect your soul. Your astral body has to come in. Otherwise, you'll just be, oh, I'm very spiritually attuned. I don't have any person. I've come
Yeah.
across people. They're just flavorless and they're gray. And if you go under the water, if you ride on top of the water, if you're out along the water, whether you're on the ocean or the sea or the lake or the river, it's movement, it's current sea, it's currency, it's
Mm.
magnetism. There's so many different colors to it and layers. You're going to have to put your own flavor to it rather than trying to define it, because the elements are absolutes. You define it for a while, but you put it in form, but it's just going to keep growing and expanding. So once again, there's a tangibility in what you said with the soul and the astral body, you know, or your emotional body. You've got depth, character, and energy there. And when you're really, you know, bringing it up, I like the fellows that go beyond. I mean, they're growing. You know, we went underwater scuba diving. You know, went down 13 meters. I'd never gone down that far. It's another world. It's another vision, and your focus. And also, rather than any fear coming in, you let go, you relax. Same with surfing. I've been out in cyclones, and the toughest, hardest, they just crumble when they're out in massive waves, because they're at the mercy of this thing on a flat little bit of styrofoam. And
Mm-hmm.
it's, as I said, water's the big leveler, fire, obviously, and all the elements. You get into a cave when you're in a confined space, that'll challenge you. But that was part of the Kabbalistic training. So you go into the water when, it's really, really cold, and work in extreme heats and things like that. I like that in my development. However, I suggest people should put a lot more into that in theirs as well, because it gets to, they know their boundaries and practical limitations, and it'll also get them to find where they wish to go with Hermetics. Where's it's going to take them in their story?
Yeah.
We want that soul satisfaction. It's getting back to that story of that musical harmony.
Mm,
All seems to nest, but there's some phenomenal disciplines. And if you've
mm,
got a way or a good teacher or a way of sharing like we're doing now with this media, we're expressing experiences and a development of one's own soul, their spirit, their character, and they get to see the reality behind it. And they're piercing the veils, as it were, through the illusions. Because we see life completely different to the average person. Not knocking them, you know, they're doing their own thing, and you know, whatever gets you through the night, you know, it's all right. John Lennon.
yeah, I love this. That's great. You know, I think that I think we're moving into a more watery time. Personally, we see a distinct. This is analogous in how we see an increased presence of the feminine all throughout society. And there's definitely social media for me is a very watery sort of like social sort of thing. Um, but anyway, I've got a question here now. I'll just throw it up here because where are we? How does Hermetics gel with Castaneda's books? Now, I've read a stack of Castaneda's books back in the day, and I got a lot of value out of his dream-related things because basically he says, look, when you're in a dream, just pick an object and just focus on it, and that will teach you to concentrate within the dream environment, which can be very mesmerizing and distracting
Absolutely.
and delusional. So please.
Yeah, Carlos Castaneda, obviously, you know, he had the conversation with Don Juan and that whole series of books. They're brilliant. If that's a very good spiritual teaching program, and just adapt what you do. You might have a whole nest of different spiritual identities that you work with, whether it be Zen or Buddhism, or you're working with the Western flavors. Try and find it. You might have listened to Zeppelin, you might have listened to Eagles, you might have listened to Sabbath, you might have listened to the Moody Blues, you might have listened to, you know, Joan Jett, whatever. You're bringing it in, and it's going to be what you identify with, which is going to be your song. Carlos Castaneda's work is fine. Many people want to write off people. They'll find less than 1% wrong with them, and they'll write off all the 99.9%. Remember, we're always evolving, and there's going to be issues. You know, we learn mistakes to recalibrate, as it were. That's a Michael Lamb saying. And you can use Castaneda's work, Alice A. Bailey's work, any of these different philosophies that work. If you want to grab a couple of pieces out of, I don't know, any of the aspects of Christianity or you know, yoga principles, anything that you feel, we show you this, because with Barton's work, it's a way of bringing in individual levels and work, because it all comes back to the elements. So you've got the 5 fundamental flavors. However, there are some brilliant teachings, and that's where I encourage people to go to do their own research to find out their truth. Barton's is a phenomenal flavor, and it just happens to be one of the major modalities in my life, and I do a lot of practice in the 80s and the 90s with it, and also for the rest of my life. And I got a chance to really, you know, improve many of my skill sets there. However, take on other teachings, and you may agree with someone, let's say 70, 80%. Fine. Just take what you want to work. We want to encourage the growth of a multitude of solar beings, you know, soul beings, star beings, you know, because, you know, there's earth souls, people are really in the earth, and there are others that want to ascend to different energy zones. And I'm not talking about getting cosmic and nebulous with this, but focusing on what they want to achieve in their life. So you're going to have to go through other teachers. If people just get focused on one thing, fine. That's you know, that's probably way Arnold Schwarzenegger teaches, you know, focus on one thing and just do it. But make sure you're clear and very specific, and then add different flavors. Teachers, because you're going to have to find specific teachers that do specific things. My specificity, I love that word, you know, is to find Hermetic practitioners and connect all the dots with everything from tarot to the planets to the constellations to elemental energy, anything that they can work with in the true essence of magic. I can teach, people, they have issues that come in from religions or spiritual disciplines. And what we showed them was like, well, if you want to work with the angelic aspects, then fine. But it's not just angels and archangels. You want to work with the whole 9 orders, the principles and the virtues and things like that. If you want to work with a system that's, maybe, ancient Egypt or, something along the Norse lines, they've got 9 worlds and different planes. So it's important people know about planes and dimensions. And that's why I really love teaching that more than just the elemental spheres. However, Barden's work really encapsulates it beautifully. But I'd rather people, keep their passions, their traditional aspects, their soul values, and integrate it with a phenomenal platform, phenomenal world that can nest things and answer basically any question. Everything from the Bermuda Triangle to Antarctica, you understand how it works, but you've got to be ready to face yourself and your programming and just dissolve those veils.
Perfect. And we've got another audience question here, which just segues with that. How much should we be aware of the mantras we are being programmed with, and how to erase earworms? So there's 2 questions there. So, I mean, my understanding is that as Hermeticists, we're looking to identify and discern all the influences, because these are essentially potential traps and anchors that prevent our progress. And so we're wanting full gnosis, know thyself.
This is true. Once again, if we're looking at spiritual disciplines, you would go back into Gnosis, the ancient teachings and the grimoires and many of these other books where, there's a lot of knowledge. However, there are traps, a lot of the sacred texts have been manipulated, or there's huge volumes left out, so it doesn't make any sense on purpose, because of obviously those that are negative feed on the power of confusion and those sorts of things. So getting back to mantras, mantra, is traction, man. You understand what the syllables, prefixes, and suffixes mean. I'm here to simplify things, and you're going to have to find out what works for you. I stay away from any of the the mainstream mantras of whatever, I don't. I look at the core of all religions and spiritual philosophies. There's the truth there. However, over time, distorted and misquoted, Chinese whispers, 5 is in a room. By the time I speak into one person's ear, by the end of it, it's changed. So the mantras have to reflect that's powerful for you, and it's got to be you. Man, I am man, heaven, earth, and man. So I need to tract that which comes easily and naturally to me. Patty, what I don't know if that were, great, exactly. We're gonna have another kumbaya moment, are we? That's wonderful. It's also, it's got to be focused and powerful, relevant for you. It's like, is it going to help you in your day-to-day life if you're going to run that mantra through? It might, make you feel joyful. However, if you're doing things like this, how good can it get? How great is this? Oh God, it's so good. Rather than, oh, for fuck's sake, these, you know what I mean? So people are running those programs all the time. And also there's a lot of negative music out there that's, doesn't matter. There's a lot of good, positive, hard rock too, don't get me wrong, but you've got to listen to what's being said, You want to be able to, use mantras that were, that are relevant to your progress and your purpose and your mission. So create that which is an affirmation or something that works for you. And then from the affirmation, you're developing it, you're writing or you're putting things together that's creativity. Don't, follow the masses. We're developing individuals that, enhance things. This is my mission statement, Oh gosh. Yeah. Look at some of my old books here.
Yeah, please share.
Oh, look, there's volumes of knowledge. I hope that is answer the question. Oh, hang on, there was something else there. And how to erase earworms. By earworms is
That's when you got a song stuck in your head.
yes, Steve. Okay. Yes, all right. That's because of the programming. Once again, when we said about nursery rhymes, okay, they're very powerful. Most of the nursery rhymes are actually taken from a classic or well, let's just call it classical music. Okay, Baroque is actually the real term for it, and they use a powerful aspect of it. You know, it's like if you had Stairway to Heaven or Smoke on the Water or any of those really powerful pieces. Comfortably Numb. They're so powerful. There's aspects in there. So you have to learn to overcome them. I'll get songs through the day because it's actually quite prevalent in the astral planes. If a singer is touring or a band's touring,
Oh
you'll
yeah.
astrally before it's on the, not even if you're listening to the radio, it'll be in the astral planes. Now, remember these earworms. If a type of music comes in, because, they're just copying them, like, Pearl Jam's, they're just doing Soundgarden, or they're just doing Nirvana. It's not. It's a wave that's coming in astrally because that's coming in from the causal planes. And these fellas just, yeah, let's do this, exactly. And, well, we're being influenced by this, but we're taken from here. Let's see with your spiritual development. If these things are working for you, then work with them until they're no longer, no longer developing, as it were, or they're no longer useful to you. It's just like putting your records or your books and that on the shelves, but then there might be a time when you bring it back out, or, certain music works well at parties. I had, the fortunate aspect of being a DJ at many parties, and my father always showed me there are songs that get people moving, people sitting there, the party's dead. To energize that party, you've got to find the music, and there'd be a formula of songs I could find, and they're out there moving. So once again, that's magnetism energy. You're changing energy in the room, which is exactly what we're doing. So it's your job, it's your mission to do that. If obviously if you're a DJ or you're a teacher of Hermetics, or you have the ability to change and shift people.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, wonderful response. And I just wanted to say with the earworms, I've actually released a couple of videos on my YouTube channel because as being a music teacher and teaching a lot of catchy songs to kids for years on end, you have to get used to flushing it out. And there's lots of ways of doing this. And I think this is a common, because we've got so much media and advertisement. I mean, there's eye worms too, when you can be constantly thinking about images that are pushed in front of you all the time. So there's these programs that kind of find their way in and take up a place in your cognitive real estate, and just put a fence post there and say, hey, and you'll just get tapped, and it's distracting. So thank you. Some really valuable feedback there.
Thank you very much. This is why we teach guided meditations at first, and we looked at all the aspects of the knowledge. I know I tend to sometimes ramble on. I want a way to, develop skill sets where people use the most vibrant aspects, for themselves. So that when we go into the meditation, I've taken them through, not just through, breathing, we go right in through down into the lungs and get right into the physical body, because that's what's going to house. Well, that's what does house your astral body, your mental body, and your spirit. And you'll find the centers and how they work. And once again, we're not using just all the old paradigms. We're working with the best of all the work that I've come across in my cycle, with a lot of the Barnes work, and I've road tested it, for decades. So I offer online courses for a reason, because I can't live my life unless I teach this stuff. This is the way, I've obviously come back to do this, and I've run away from it so many times, but now I'm here. I found my soul, Judy, and my mate, and, we're working on this, and we've got a lot. Facebook, check us out, Michael's Alchemy, Michael Lamb, and also, Instagram. Do this. My old website, Michael's Alchemy, it's been transformed. We need something that's very, very relevant and now, where people can build this energy, and we're working now. So michaelsalchemy.com is our old my website. You can go on there. It hasn't been updated. I had a couple of, as you do, because everyone's always developing and moving, and we're bringing in a new aspect for Hermetic Mastery. So our online courses are up there on my Facebook, please, michaelsalchemy.com, and you can get in touch with me at michaelsalchemy@gmail.com. And please understand, I do my best to answer these Hermetic aspects, and that's why when we program the guided meditations, you do this, and then you're going to flow your way. Even if you pick up, all my work, or even Barden's work, and you throw it out the window, as long as you've got that core aspect. But the beauty about the work that we teach, you're still going to come back to those 5 principles. They're sitting in front of your face. Look, 5, intention, attention, 5 fingers, all the elements, negative, positive, masculine, feminine, up, down, in, out. You're wired up to this stuff.
Yeah.
Life isn't just about, doing the general. If you tap into this, you're going to find exactly who you are, and it's going to blow your mind.
Man,
The only
awesome.
person that's going to limit you is, those, people that limit themselves. You can touch the stars here, literally, and that's what we teach. And we go beyond the zodiac too. There's very, very powerful constellations we did in the School of Inner Knowledge. It's not mentioned in Barden's work, but I did with Bill. And, we were working with Palladian energy, Andromedan energy. And this sounds like absolute, but if you know how these ancient civilizations were really built, wouldn't that answer a lot of your questions? Imagine knowing the key to how the Bermuda Triangle or the Devil's Triangle, when you've got multiple crafts and things like this, because the mainstream's not going to, they're just going to poo-poo it, or they're just going to overlook it. But how about if you understand the real mysteries of yourself? And this is what we teach initiation hermetics, the real keys there. And we answer the questions, because it's the truth. The truth is Thoth, which is the emerald tablets, which is Hermes Trismegistus, which is Mercury. Mercury is the messenger of the gods and the goddesses, goes through all the planets and communicates. Mastering.
Wonderful, yes. And my gosh, you are correct. This is a wonderful time. We're so lucky to have teachers like yourself coming forward with the amount of experience. And I've not heeded the call in several parts of this adventure I've been on since I started waking up, and I get my ass handed to me pretty much if I don't follow through and get back on this track. So here I am.
Oh God, yeah.
Here I am bringing you guys
like,
forward, because I don't really know what else to do apart from doing the healing and I'm also working on a game, and all these things are all just popping up. It's really incredible.
Absolutely. Yeah, you're living your life. You're doing what you're meant to be, and I appreciate your honesty. You're brutally honest, and I have to follow my own pathway. Like you said, if you're working on this game, I mean, tell us about that. All right.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. Well, this is it.
Yeah. We have so much to sort of put out there. So check us out on michaelsalchemy.com on Facebook, or Michael Lamb on Facebook. Yeah. And by the way, this is the Hermetic Tarot workshop we're doing in Chiang Mai in 2024. It kicks off on the 1st of November. So I encourage, you ascending energy practitioners and, to rediscover your own hidden powers and your hidden gifts, with a mastery of Hermetic disciplines through profound meditations, with the tarot being the gateway to map your true soul purpose. Now, Barden's 3 books, he said the first one, Initiation Hermetics, is the Magician. Does everyone know what planet that relates to? Well, you're going to find out. And the second card is the High Priestess. Does everyone know what planet that relates to? And it's not just some planet that's out there. You're made up. You are a solar system. And when you get to know this, you can build elemental energy like that. So after working with me, we'll have, you connected to all the elements of Hermetics, the Akasha and the soul's arcane magic through, powerful, empathic and emotive energy skills. I want people to find out, who they really are. That's my specific duty this cycle, and show you many different layers to themselves. Everything from, arcane relics, keys to temples and things like that. The real knowledge. Why are the Nagars as Gadians? Why are the Foo Dogs go this way? Flower of life, tree of life. This is what we do. We want to connect all the dots, and we want people to come out of there with their minds blown, but also the key is that they can get on with their lives. They've got answers, but not more questions than answers. They've got answers to their deepest questions and their deepest mysteries within them, how to balance their emotions. We want to encourage people to get out and be who they're meant to be. And that's the away from our workshops. Thank you so much.
Man, I tell you what a beautiful conversation. I mean, we could just keep going and going and going, but I want to say, Michael, thank you so much for your time today. We will certainly be in touch again, and there'll be we'll no doubt see Michael and Manuela on the Bard Inn at some point in the future too.
Yes,
but
to it, Phil. Thank you.
This is always a pleasure. And Michael, if I could get you to stick around for just a minute after I end the live stream, I want to say a big thank you to the wonderful audience. We had around about 24 people at once on the stream, and that's very encouraging. And I'm so grateful for all of you and your support. If you want to know more ways you can connect with me and support the channel and everything that I do with my various social medias, you can check out the YouTube description below. I want to say thank you to the crowd for all the great questions and all the wonderful comments. And there's so many people just sharing wonderful responses, demonstrating the value for this. So thank you, everyone. Have a beautiful time. I'm back again tomorrow with the Bard Inn, and please follow up with Michael, and I'll put lots of Michael and Manuela's details in the YouTube description below. Support the brothers and the sisters out there who are bringing you the best of the best of the best of the best. I love you all.
Thank you very much.
Stay well.
Appreciate this. Thank you. It's been a real pleasure. Thank you, Phil.
Thank you, brother.